Florida homeowners, it's not a question of if, but when the next hurricane will come. No matter what Florida weather has in store, Storm Smart has products that protect every opening of your home while improving the look, feel, and function. From durable aluminum shutters, high-impact windows and doors, to our innovative storm catcher screens, products that enhance the beauty of your home and keep your family safe. Because smart is complete hurricane protection, and smart is peace of mind. Call Storm Smart today for your free in-home consultation.
When your power goes out, remember just how inconvenient your life can be. No lights, no refrigeration, no heating or cooling, no electronics. But with a Generac home standby generator, you'll have power when you need it. Our Generac generators automatically provide backup power after sensing a power outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Get a free 10-year warranty with the purchase of any air-cooled generator. Call Generac Generators today. Generac Generators. Life is primitive without power.
Streaming from the Tampa Bay 28 Weather Center in Studio A, this is Dennis Phillips Live. Brought to you by Storm Smart. Protect every opening of your home. And Generac Generators. Life is primitive without power.
How you doing, everybody? It is a Thursday night edition of Dennis Phillips Live. Welcome. If you're watching on the spot, 66.1. Welcome. Tomorrow night, you won't be able to because the Lightning are taking on the Red Wings in Detroit, in Motown. So the game will be on the spot. So you'll have to watch DPL either on streaming or on Facebook. So I always say the best way to experience this event, this religious/inspirational programming, if you know, you know, is to watch on TV and follow along on the comments. I must say, I may have done something incorrectly a couple of minutes ago. So I was looking at some of the comments, and I saw someone whose name was Jake say, hype, hype, hype. And you know what I did? I immediately banned it. Like, those are fighting words, right? Accusing of hype those are fighting words, because that is the last thing that we do. But he may have been doing that in jest. I'm not sure. So, Jake, my heartfelt apologies to you if you're unable to log into the live stream. I was trying to unban him, but I don't know if you can do that. So I don't know what to say. Those are just fighting words. They just are. I mean, you guys know me. When I'm on my soapbox, you know what? Let me show you something. I'm going to stand by here. You may not, I've completely gone off the tracks, but I'm going to do this. So you may not know this, but Wendy Ryan, when Wendy Ryan does the news, I thought of soapbox, and that's why I thought about this. So this is not a soapbox. This is an apple box. This is what Wendy Ryan stands on when she is doing the news. And there's two sizes. There's a really high size, and then there's a moderate size. I don't know if that's when she's the difference between flats and heels. I can't really tell you that. I don't really know that. But when I went to soapbox, I thought about that. So there we go. So, because Wendy Ryan's little, but extra. And by the way, just so you know, Wendy Ryan's birthday's tomorrow. So you guys should all go on her Facebook page and wish her a happy birthday, or Instagram, or wherever. Because Wendy Ryan hit the big 2-9 this year. So, you know, I think you should probably wish her a happy birthday. Wait a minute. Bill says you can do that. Go into the settings on your page to get the Jake guy back. All right, so let's go ahead and talk a bit about the tropics. We actually got lots and lots of stuff to talk about. Before we do, here, let's hit refresh and see if the 8 o'clock update is out. It is not. So obviously we've been talking about this for a while. So let's just go ahead. Before we do that, let's do some hellos. Jenny, how you doing? St. Pete in the house with Maggie. And Prudy, how are you? Southbury, Connecticut, checking in with David. Joseph's birthday's tomorrow, too. Happy birthday, Joseph. Jane in Gulfport, good to see you. We have got Denise, nice to see you as always. Reddington Shores in the house with Chris. Lauren, good to see you. Yeah, Lauren, I hit the ban button on someone who said hype, 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 and, you know, because those are fighting words with me. You know this. Arizona's in the house. Kathy, how you doing? Nice to see you in Arizona. Oh, Lisa in Ohio. Crystal in Seminole. We got folks from all over the place. All over the place. Allison in Palm Harbor as well. So let's just go ahead and Lady Lake's in the house with Amanda. Lakeland. Dadson's locked in. Dunedin's here with Greg. So howdy from Lakeland with Rachel. So again, lots and lots of stuff to talk about. There's Randall. No, see, okay, now Randall just typed in hype, hype, hype. So Randall, so are you trying to stir the pot? Are you trying? Are you trying to get me? I won't do it. I won't do it because maybe you're making a joke. I don't know what to say, but anyway. Okay. Northport's in the house. We got so many folks. I don't know what to do with them. All right. All right, let's jump in, okay? So all right, as my kids, this is the big thing in our family. Whenever they're playing a game, whenever they're playing tennis or whatever, it's lock in, right? My son Josh kind of started that within the family. So whenever Ryan's playing softball, you know, lock in, Ryan. And Josh had a doubles tournament, a mixed doubles tournament with my wife a couple of weeks ago, and we're like, lock in. So I figured it was just a joke, Randall. So I'm going to lock in here and talk about what we got going on here, all right? And then because we got lots and lots of scenarios here. Lots and lots of scenarios. Linda in Arkansas is in the house. All right. So there we go. The area in yellow that we've been talking about for a week has indeed developed. Well, we knew it has developed, but the Hurricane Center also decided to, yeah, I saw that, Brian. Yeah, I saw that. KISS, one of the original KISS members passed away, Ace Frehley. So Sue's like, Dennis, lock in. See, I have a problem locking in. Locking in is not my forte. I'm going to be honest with it, because you know me, I'm like squirrel. All right, so as of 2 o'clock, the wave that we were talking about for the last week has indeed become an area of interest from the Hurricane Center. The X is right here. Over the next 7 days, it's eventually going to be moving into this area in the Caribbean. And once it does, there's a pretty good chance of development. All right? So the question is, where is it going to go from there? All right? Well, let's go ahead and let's just jump in and look at some of the ensembles. All right? We're going to start with the GFS ensemble. Now, we're noticing a trend in the last 12 hours or so with the ensembles. Those trends are more east, okay? So Jamie's like, dude, talk about the storm, lock in. You know what? I'm going to tell you a story about that. All right, so much for my lock in. So we had a producer, this was years ago, and she was a new producer. And usually when the weather department calls a producer and says, we need to lead weather, they will lead weather. In other words, lead the newscast with weather, because when we say, hey, there's serious weather, we expect the newscast to be led. So we had a new producer. She was very new, like maybe a week or two there. And I called her, and this is back when we were redoing our newsroom, and they were upstairs. And I picked up the phone. I'm like, look, I picked up the phone. I'm like, hey, it's Dennis. And she's like, yeah. And she goes, and I go, we need to lead weather. And she's like, yeah, okay, I'll think about it and get back to you. So I'm like, and she answers the phone, hey, dude, what's up? Okay? So I immediately hung up the phone. I walked upstairs. And I looked at her, and she looks at me, and she goes, no, dude? And I go, no, dude. Now, I get it. Now, dude is a term of endearment these days. I mean, you know what? You go to any drive. I asked this question. Boy, we have totally gone off the rails. When you go to a drive-through window and somebody in the window either calls you dude or whatever, if you're older, it doesn't bother me at all because my kids, I've got 6 kids and I've still got young kids. But I wonder, do some people not like to be called dude by somebody who's maybe 18 years old and you're maybe 50 or 60? I wondered that. I wonder if that's a thing. I don't know. I truly don't know. And it doesn't bother me because, again, I've got young kids. But I always wondered about that. Anyway, this was not pre-suspender days. This was, sorry to saying break. No, I'm not going to go to break yet. I'm not. I've got to get into this. So anyway, I digress. Boy, we totally went off the tracks here. Okay, here's the GFS. And what I was trying to say, when for some reason I changed my thinking, is these models have trended more to the east in the last 24 hours. Matter of fact, out of the 51 ensemble members, you only have one single run that goes into Florida. Now, you do have a few that go in this general direction and kind of just hang out right about there, okay? But this forecast is really not as difficult as, I don't know what's going on there with Google going up there. This forecast is not really as difficult as it may seem. Those fronts that we've been talking about, and coming out after this break, I'm going to show you the fronts, and we're going to actually get down into it. The first segment is usually just chit-chat anyway. But those fronts that have been coming through are going to have a massive impact on whether or not this storm impacts the U.S. If a strong front makes it all the way through Florida and into Cuba, this thing is not going to hit Florida. It will curve east and maybe the Dominican, Haiti, potentially even Puerto Rico, but it will not go as far west. But if the front, 3 scenarios, or if the front isn't as strong, it has a better opportunity to stay more north, and then at that point could go anywhere. The third wild card is what the Euro has been hinting at quite a bit. It goes far enough south that those fronts do not impact this storm, and it literally hangs out in the southwestern Caribbean for days on end. Many of them then drift it west into Central America. But at that point, potentially, it could go more north, and then that would be a scenario, obviously, that nobody wants to see. And there's very few models that are showing that, but that is certainly a possibility. We're going to talk more about specific ensembles, operational runs, and what it means to cruisers, vacationers, and your Disney trip coming up in 90 seconds as DPL continues. You're all over the place with that. So I had to show Wendy's Apple Crate. I had to talk about the dude story, and we got a little bit of weather in there. But, okay, should you worry about the Bahamas next week, Ruth wants to know. The end of next week, potential. But I will show you the specific dates coming up when we get back. Again, the operational runs are not going to be accurate in terms of where it's going to be, but I am going to show them in terms of time frame, because the different scenarios and the different timelines, I think, are very important. All right? So, will high pressure protect the U.S., Michael wants to know. Well, certainly, if high pressure builds in behind these fronts and kind of forces everything southward, that is exactly how things would play out. But how about Disney on Sunday? You're good. Disney on Sunday is good. We are in a break. We are actually in a break right now for TV, for broadcast folks, no, for social folks. And we have 21 seconds left. And then this next segment, it's going to be like a 6-minute segment. I'm just jumping all weather. Boom, boom, boom. It's going to be speed round, all right? Because I got to catch up after those stories. But that's just what I do. All right, we are back in 5, 4, 3, 2. How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Dennis Phillips Live. All right, I've been saying on our chats on Facebook, I am jumping right into full-fledged weather, all right? We got some weather to catch up in because I got on all those conversations and those tangents the last segment. Okay, so like I said, here is the GFS, all right? The GFS has trended more to the east. The 3 scenarios, right? Front comes down strong, forces everything, zoop, off to this direction away from the U.S., potentially the eastern Bahamas. Second scenario, low is far enough south that it misses the front and kind of percolates down here for several days. Several of the models do show that. But of these 51 ensembles, you've got one that comes into Florida, maybe two, and that is a major hurricane. So that's at a 2% clip, ironically enough, the number that we often show with the GFS being wrong on its 10-day forecast. The Euro, here is the Euro AI, okay? And the Euro AI is showing more of that southerly track. You don't see as much around Cuba. You see more in this general area in the southwestern Caribbean. This is kind of a scary area because if it sits down here long enough, potentially it could slide in between fronts and eventually go up to the north. It also could go west and eventually go into the Pacific. But the Euro AI is more inclined to look at more of a west-southwest motion and potentially stalling out entirely. All right? Now, the Euro deterministic view, this is the actual Euro, not the AI. This, too, takes more of the southerly track. Now, remember, this is that 15-day forecast. These models will change dramatically, but you see how it goes more to the south, sort of percolates in this area right here, and eventually the Euro does have a handful of models that come up more toward the north. Okay? You are going to be seeing these models flip-flopping back and forth for the next week, because right now it's out here, and it's going to take a week for it to get out here. So we look at the ensembles for the very obvious reason that this far out, a single model run simply is unable to be accurate. It will not be accurate. So the ensembles give you a broad brush, better idea of what we're thinking. Now, that's normally 10-plus days out. And even then, your ensembles are going to change dramatically. Now, coming up in the next segment, I am going to show operational runs. In other words, I'm going to show the individual runs that I will not post on Facebook, but I will talk about, because here we have the ability to say what it means, to show what it means, and better yet, to give a timeline. Because I think a lot of folks saying, all right, well, what if this does develop? What is the timeline? We can't say for sure, even close, where it's going, but we can give you a pretty good idea on the timeline, all right? We're going to talk about that, answer your questions, and your weekend forecast coming up on our next segment on Dennis Phillips Live. Ooh, how about that? That was a short and sweet segment, but I got out. So thank you, Don, for the update on break. Michelle, you know, the Euro AI started out real solid, but then it's been pretty bad. The Euro deterministic view has honestly been the best one of any so far. So, yeah, Chris, you're kind of right. Next 10 days, good to look at, but it really means nothing. I mean, I hate to say it. I don't know if I'd go 10 days out. I would go probably more 7 days out. And once we get that far out, now I will tell you, if there's a ton of agreement on a hard turn to the northeast, those you can look 10 days out because they're going to be right more often than not. And this last season, every model, for the most part, had those hard turns in the Atlantic, and they were right almost every time. So when we see something so definitive like that, yeah, I will go 10 days out and be okay with it. But typically when it's 7 days out or less is when those deterministic views start becoming quite a bit more accurate. But that's a good question. Lisa's watching in Trinidad. Tom in Nokomis is here. How you doing? And yes, that is what Wilma did, Linda. You are correct. All right, we're back in. How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Dennis Phillips Live. So we talked about the ensembles last segment. Now let's go to the operational runs. I want to show those not for knowing exactly where this is going to be or even close, but the timeline. Because I think timelines are important for folks who want to have an idea of, when things might get nasty. And again, in terms of the U.S., way too early to even speculate whether or not Florida or anybody else could see a storm. But When will we know whether or not that's a possibility? I think that's a more reasonable expectation. So here's Thursday, here's tomorrow. Now this is the GFS. Saturday night, Sunday, the 19th, Sunday night, Monday, Monday night, Tuesday, Tuesday night, the 21st, Wednesday, the 22nd. There's your development in the Central Caribbean. Thursday, a week from today, the 23rd, it's farther north. And any storm that's farther north is going to curve. So there's Thursday, the 23rd. This is exactly 7 days out. You've got a weak system over Puerto Rico. There's Friday. It's directly over Puerto Rico, really. And it does start to develop and intensify. So the GFS is what I've been saying. If this goes more north and gets stronger early on, this would likely have an impact on, that's a 978 millibar hurricane over Puerto Rico, 8 days out. So that is absolutely a possibility, all right? But look where it goes. It curves away, all right? So the stronger it is and the more north it is, eventually it is going to hit a front and it is going to curve northeast. That's the GFS, and that's your timeline. So again, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but look at your timeline. The 24th, Friday the 24th, Saturday the 25th. There's the islands. Sunday the 26th. It misses the Bahamas and goes north, all right? Now, let's look at the Euro. Here's tomorrow, all right? Here's Saturday. Here's Sunday. Strong front digging in. There's Monday. Look at that front over Central Florida Monday. That front, there's Tuesday. Now, the front kind of stalls out a little bit. See how it stalls out in South Florida? See those clouds right there? See those? That's the front kind of stalling out. So there's next Wednesday. And then you start to see some organization 6 days out, all right? There's next Thursday. Look how much farther south this is than the GFS. And because that front is not digging as far south as the previous one was, you might see a system go exactly where the Euro is going, which is Belize, right? Cozumel. See it there? And there's your low pressure. Now, that's tropical storm, nothing particularly strong. But that is a week from Sunday. So the Euro, the timeline is for cruisers, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, and it kind of meanders down there. And then it eventually just kind of, so, and again, there'll be no accuracy, zero accuracy on this. All this is showing is that it's losing its steering currents. That's the 29th, and it meanders in the Caribbean as a hurricane. So realistically, to me, those are your two scenarios. And look at the timeline. That's the 29th, 30th. That's, you know, you're going to see the headlines, Halloween hurricane, if that happens. The alliteration's the thing. So the two scenarios, GFS sooner, farther north, right now, more toward the islands. The Euro AI, the Google AI as well, DeepMind, farther south, goes west and kind of meanders for a couple of days. But again, the accuracy of those, zero. Forget about where. What I'm talking about is the timeline. And the timeline for the Western Caribbean would be the 26th through the 29th. If this were to become an issue, that's your time frame, all right? If you were thinking about Puerto Rico, it would be a couple of days earlier, three days earlier, probably 24th, 25th, in that general ballpark. That's the timeline, all right? So when we come back, we're going to talk our local weather, local forecast, and answering your questions on the last few minutes as Dennis Phillips Live continues. Wow, I hit all the breaks today. I'm actually going to have a couple of minutes back. That is pretty, and look at you guys, all with your break cues. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, John. Thank you. We hit it today. How about that? All right, so what maps have I not shown? Okay, let's show the U.S. maps next, because I have not shown the U.S. maps next. Because people want to know the forecast, too. All right, so we'll have that coming back. Hey, we did okay. So departure, and that was with a 9-minute segment about an apple crate and a dude story. And the beginning of the show with the banning of the hype comment. Just let's be honest. If you're going to go on there and type hype, 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 you know you don't know what's going to happen with me. It depends what kind of mood I'm in. And I see that 1 minute, I might laugh, but I see another minute, oh, no. So there you go. That's where we are. Hey, tonight's our treat night. I have no idea whose treat night it is tonight, but yeah, right, exactly, Jonathan. I didn't go over what the heck is going on. Hi from Sarasota. How you doing, Denise? Go to Disney 20, leave 26th. You will be fine, Kelsey. You will be fine. Hudson's in the house with Cindy. How you doing? Yeah, I handled the brakes okay today. And Bridget's right. No one knows for sure. All right, we are back in 5, 4, 3. How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to our final segment, Heat Lightning Round of Dennis Phillips Live. Again, tomorrow night, we will not be on the spot. The Bolts are taking on the Red Wings, so you'll be able to watch that on the spot. You'll be able to follow us here on social as well as streaming. I highly, strongly suggest checking in every night because potentially this is a problem for the Western Caribbean and the Bahamas and potentially even the U.S. But that's a big potential, 10, 12, 13 days out. But the bottom line is we do not know where it's going to go right now. But the time frame is what I wanted to share. And what I want to share right now is a look at how things are shaping up nationally and locally over the next week. This is the GFS tomorrow. Beautiful weather again. Saturday night. We do have another front coming in on Monday. That's Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Sunday afternoon, big storm up north. That's a 980 millibar low in the UP of Michigan. That's equivalent to a Cat 1 hurricane. That's how strong that storm's going to be in the Great Lakes this weekend. All right, there's Monday night, there comes the front. But notice by the time it gets here, there ain't nothing to it. Very little chance of any rain with it, like 10% or less. Okay, so this is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We are in for a stretch of beautiful, beautiful weather, so says the GFS, and a stronger front on the 29th. Now, that will be interesting to see if anything tropical is around on those days, because that's what the GFS is doing. It's sensing that front. Now let's look at the Euro. Here's the Euro, same time frame. Tomorrow morning, tomorrow night, Saturday morning, Saturday night, strong front coming in. Sunday morning, 991 millibars, 993. The Euro is a little weaker than the GFS in that Great Lakes storm. Monday morning, there is the front coming down. The Euro does have a few showers across our area Monday morning, not many. And it does stall the front out in South Florida. There's your 540 line. There's your freezing line going into Pennsylvania. Even the Delmarva, look at that. Potential freeze in all of Pennsylvania middle of next week. But remember, the Euro does have a cold bias. So usually it isn't quite as cold as the Euro is showing. We all know that cold bias from following DPL. And then it lifts back to the north. And then a big storm in the Pacific Northwest coming in toward the end of next week. All right, so we are going to continue on social, and I will be answering your questions. Disney Bahama Cruise, 1024 to 1027. Sharon, you will be okay. I think if it were to impact the Bahamas, it would probably be a couple of days after that. I will be answering a few more questions on social. Joel wants to know who I like, the Bengals or the Steelers. I don't like either one of those teams. I think the Bengals are due for a decent game with Joe Flacco in there, but boy, they have been horrible. You can run on that Bengal defense, so my guess is Warren would be over the total in his prop, whatever that is tonight. But yeah, Punta Cana, 23rd to 26th. That is a dicey one, John. The 23rd's okay, but that one I cannot tell you for sure. All right, we're going to continue to answer your questions on social. If you're watching on the spot, thank you so much for watching. You got the Bolts game tomorrow, and we'll be back on Monday night on the spot for your next edition of Dennis Phillips Live. You have a great night and a great weekend. Ooh, we hit it. So we hit our spots and we had to clean out. That is, knowing me, that's pretty rare, right? Okay, Disney Cruise, 25 to 30. So, Janine, that one I simply cannot answer yet. Again, I will show you guys the timeline. I will show you the timeline. Megan, 26th to 30th. Okay, I cannot answer that. I mean, here, I'll just show you. Look at the euro. Well, no, look at the GFS. Again, do not take this where it is in any factor at all. But look at the dates. Here's the 24th. Here's the GFS. The 24th over the islands. 25th, 26th. 24, 25, 26 in the islands, east of the Bahamas. All right, and then out to sea. But if you look at euro, all right, you look at the euro, we go to the 24th, 25th, and 26th. Here's the 24th. Well, let's go, here's the 22nd. If this area, not organized yet, and by the way, if it's more organized, that is Punta Cana, that's the 22nd. 23rd, 24th. I mean, and that could be a hurricane. I mean, it could be. And here's the 25th. Here's the 25th. Here's the 26th. So I'm not saying it's going to be there, but that is the timeline that we're looking at. Now, you're concerned about a Disney cruise in the Bahamas. If it's down here, you'll be fine. If the euro is right, Disney cruises to the Bahamas will be fine. West Florida cruises out of Tampa to Cozumel, no. If this were right, there would be major issues for those cruises, and they'd probably get canceled. You don't hear me say that often. But if this is right, any cruise around the 25th to the 30th in the Western Caribbean is going to have real issues. But a Disney cruise to the Bahamas, the 26th to the 30th, looks okay for two reasons. Because one, the euro is in the Caribbean, and the GFS has it out of there by then. So based on the current thinking, I would say a Bahamas cruise is probably okay based on the current thinking. Jamaica 23rd, Grand Cayman 24th, Robin wants to know. That one's dicey. That one's dicey. Again, this might not even develop. We're basing it purely on today's model data. That's why check us out tomorrow. I'll update over the weekend. You know I'll be updating 24/7 and into next week. I know a lot of folks don't have cruises, but some do. So I'm going to answer all the questions, all right? So yeah, Jamaica 23rd to 28th. J. Michael, I mean, there might be a hurricane there. I mean, look, I'll show you again. I mean, look, here's the euro right here. And here's the 28th right there. And there's a hurricane near Jamaica. So, oh yeah, let's look and see if the new numbers are out. Thank you, Ryan. Here's the new ones. Oh, we got another one up here. Look at that little nonsense up there. It's up to 30 now. It is up to 30. So here's the new one. East of the Windward Islands, into the Caribbean Sea, a tropical wave currently located central Atlantic, associated with large areas of thunderstorms. Some gradual development is possible in the next several days, regardless of blah, 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 blah. Okay. So it went from 0:20 to 10:30 in 6 hours. But obviously, look at the forecast potential track, all right? So anybody from Puerto Rico, the Dominican, any of the islands, Jamaica, the Caymans, Cozumel, Cancun, any of these places could be impacted over the next, I would say realistically, not in the next week, but probably the next 9 to 10 days. But Puerto Rico would be closer to 7 days if it were to happen. All right. So Lori wants to know about the stall, a potential stall. Couple of things. St. Augustine on the 31st, you're probably fine. Unless Florida gets hit by a hurricane on a Halloween hurricane. I'm certainly not going to go out on any limb and say, yes, you're good, yes, you're bad. All I'm willing to talk about today are the timelines. Anything else is pure speculation and nonsense. Because it just doesn't mean anything. It's not going to be right. So, 28th, yeah, so All right. If it were to, okay, I don't even want to go on this limb, but I will. If it were to impact Florida, if, monstrous if, more than likely not going to happen. But if it would have been impacting Florida, it would probably be, gosh, right around Halloween, 29th to the 31st. That's kind of what I'd be thinking right now. If, I can't say it enough, if. I'll go one step further. If, in the unlikely event, I'll even go that far, because that's way more reasonable. If, in the unlikely event it were to impact Florida, that's the time frame. Okay? Okay. Western Caribbean, 26th to November 2nd. Doug, not great. Not great. Based on the current track, you could very easily have a hurricane in the Western Caribbean that time frame. Disney, 24th to 26th. Wendy, you should be okay. You should be okay. I do not. My daughter has not done a commercial on Tampa Solar that I know of. Where in Florida? No idea, Diana. Zero idea. I won't even go that far. I mean, I'm not even going to go Florida, but no way. Okay. Playa del Carmen, 25th to 30th. Yeah, I mean, you've got a chance. I'll say it again. Everybody in the Caribbean has a chance of being impacted from this storm. If it were the Virgin Islands or Puerto Rico, it would be a week out. If it were the Western Caribbean, it would be 9 or 10 days out. That's where we are. Euro says south, Northern Islands aren't impacted. GFS says north, Western Islands aren't impacted. There it is. That's where we are. And they're going to go back and forth a lot. All right. So here's what I have to do. Potential troughs and water temps, Phil says. Water temps are insanely warm in the Caribbean. No storms this year. So there's been nothing to cool off the water. The water is at near record highs. There is plenty of energy in the Caribbean. Now, some people said, oh, you know what? But once it got into the Gulf, if it were to go that way, you know, wouldn't it weaken because the water's cool? Not necessarily. I mean, yes, to an extent, but more often than not, when a storm is starting to accelerate northeastward, it picks up its forward momentum, doesn't have as much time to weaken, and you get the fact that its forward speed can start accelerating so much that the relative wind in terms of land, you would still get some serious wind out of it, even if it is weakening. So, again, we're just talking what if. Someone asked about the water temp. So, yes, water temp is still a concern. It is still super, super warm. Will Trinidad and Tobago get impacts? If the Euro's right, possibly. Rainy. Just rainy, though. What has been more accurate this year, Melissa says? The Euro. The Euro has been more accurate than the GFS. And it ain't even been close. All right? Okay, so we'll be back tomorrow, not on TV, but on social and streaming. I'm going to go watch some football. I got to go get Wendy another present. I got her a little, Wendy's birthday is tomorrow, and she goes, I asked her what she wants. She wants a little red sports car, a little two-seater convertible red sports car. So I went on Amazon and ordered her a little Matchbox red sports car. I actually got her another one too, but I'm giving it to her later because I didn't know which one I liked better. So, but anyway, I got to go out and get a card, get some dinner, get some more Christmas lights because my sprinklers messed up my Christmas lights. He's like, wait a minute. Did he just say he has his Christmas lights up? Yes and no. I don't have my Christmas lights up, but I have my Halloween lights up. And I do the same music deal with the music sync to the lights and everything. And I've got a big sign that says, tune your radio to 89.5. So when you drive up, you tune your FM radio to 89.5, you hear the music on your radio and you see the lights and they're synced. And I have that both with Halloween and Christmas. And the sprinkler messed up the lights, so I got to go buy some more lights. All right. No. Evelyn, that's a good question, too. no one should cancel any trips. No way, way too premature to cancel any trips whatsoever. Let's see if this develops, and let's see where it's going to head. I would not, personally me, I would never cancel any vacation trips based on what we're looking at here. If we had a Cat 3 storm right now and it was moving due west, that'd be something differently, but we don't. So don't cancel, and we will be back on tomorrow night's edition of Dennis Phillips Live. You guys have a great night. As always, thanks for stopping by.